Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start second lecture with the legal background. I would just like to add one thing for those participants who've participated in the lecture this morning. Said, well, under German law, if you're hacking a wireless network or if you're getting into a wireless network from somebody else, it's a little bit difficult the idea to prosecute that under section 202A of the German Penal Code. That's true, but if you are hacking into it by interfering the communication on that line and analyzing it and finally decrypting it, this is definitely a criminal act. So it's always depending how you get into the system. This is the idea. So if there is an open wireless network and you're getting into that one and simply using it for internet communication, that's something else than really wiretapping what there is going on and decrypting it and reading emails or whatever. So this was just an amendment to our last conversation. Well, today, or right now, it's data retention. I was planning, I saw there are some other classes on the agenda, and I was planning to sit there and really just listen to you, what you're saying, and how to circumvent that, and why it is useless. There was very little, I have to say. I'm quite surprised. I was not planning to say anything about the data retention today, apart from some general remarks. I would like to talk to you about the future, what is coming next after data retention, but just a few words. It's your job now to do the work that the European Parliament did not do. It's your work now to explain us how we can circumvent it, how we can hide in the internet. Because basically, when I was talking to politicians, they always said, well, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't have to worry. And I went the dogmatic way, and I said, well, that's a stupid question. That's a question that destroys every conversation. But that's the wrong answer. The right answer would have been, well, I have a lot of things to hide. And I think we should really communicate that and say, no, it's not that. It's the question, do you have something that I not? We want it. I want to hide. I want my privacy. And I have secrets, of course. And I do not want anybody to know them. So this is very important for me. And, well, it's your job. I mean, I've just participated in one of the other lectures, and there was a guy who explained us how to circumvent it. I would like to hear more details from you. That's you should do it. You should give us a way, show us more things how to circumvent the data retention. Okay, yeah, that was the point. You don't have to worry if you have nothing to hide. Well, do we have to worry? That would have been my question for you. I didn't get a sufficient answer yet. I would like to know much more from your point of view and therefore I would like to have much more of a discussion going on about maybe data retention, but as well as the other threats I would like to present you right now. I would really like to hear your point of view and take it back. Well, in Germany, if we just keep out the European thing right now, there's one interesting thing. The parties in Germany are not quite happy with each other, as they all have their own point of view, but in one thing, they all had a common view, and that was we do not want any data retention. That's absolutely for sure. There was no chance to get a data retention through the German Parliament. Now we got it through the European Parliament, and I'm not happy about the position of the European Parliament. There is no control. I really thought we wouldn't get this. I really thought the European Parliament would stop it, but it seems it's now not the European Parliament who can stop it anymore, but we have constitutional courts who will deal with this one, so there is still a chance. But okay, that was the past. We have to deal with this now. There are many open questions remaining. There are technical aspects. Does it really help us to identify those people they are willing to identify? My answer would be no. It won't help those people who are able or who have the technical skill to hide their identity in the internet. They will make use of it. So I thought, if I drop in here, everybody of you is pretty relaxed because of that topic, because you say, well, it's not me. I know what to do, so nobody can identify me. It's much more for these people outside. And I was talking to one of the guys from the Chaos Computer Club, and he said, well, I'm not doing it for me. I know how to hide my identity. I'm doing it for the rest of the world. That's okay, but we always have to see that those folks are buying a wireless network, an access point, and they're just setting it up without any password. So there's a waste of privacy. They're not respecting that, don't have any idea of privacy. So it's a little bit difficult to fight for those people with regard to data retention if they throw around with their personal data during the entire day. But definitely, it's important that we're dealing with this problem, but right now much more from a practical point of view. one last thing. It was always in the discussion with the politicians. They said, well, it's like a car registration we're looking for. I mean, those are the ones that know less from the technical point of view than I do. So they said it's much more of car registration we want. And it's important to always, I've mentioned that this morning, have a look in the real world, compare it to the internet. There shouldn't be anything in the real world, or there shouldn't be anything in the internet that we do not have in the real world. No legislation in the internet that we don't have in the real world. And well, at least in every part of Europe outside Great Britain, there is no complete coverage where you go with your car. I mean, you have a registration, and let's say quick freeze procedure. If there is a crash, they will write down your registration. That's okay, but you're not recognized whenever you drive through town. That would have been a good start for this lecture today, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But then I read that Great Britain is exactly doing what I've mentioned. They said the streets should be banned, or terrorists should be banned from the streets, and therefore we will recognize the car identification wherever we can. All CCTV cameras should be used to identify them, so we can definitely recognize them when they're moving on the street. So this is absolutely a similar approach than the data retention, and this really threatens me. But okay, let's leave this out as well. There are a number of other threats. RFID. I mean, I've just got this very interesting lecture about RFID. If it is really possible to trace back the route of people who have their RFID or carrying around their passport, that is really a threat. You know, you're forced by law, at least in Germany, to carry around your ID card, and if you do it and people can trace back your route, that really frightens me. But we have something else in the internet. In the past, it was always that regulations from the real world swept over to the internet. Now it seems the internet is moving forward, and we have this in real life next week. Okay, the abstract threat for me with regard to data retention is the fact that the state, this authority, has a huge potential in their hands, and they're misusing it wherever they can. And I see this. This is nothing, 1984. No, we can really just look back in the past. If you see the fees you have to pay, and this huge system that was installed in German highways to sum up the fee that the lorry drivers have to pay when they pass Germany, this is a huge system. It's a good system. It's overloaded. Everybody said, why do we need such a huge system that is really surviving everything that it's doing? They have cameras everywhere. This is too much. We could have installed a completely different system. And now they say, well, maybe we could make use of these machines to register everybody who is passing the street, so we could identify criminals, stolen cars. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And this is now the point where it comes to me. I mean, it came before, but now where it comes to me, I know what you were planning from the beginning. This was just, that was just the first thing you did. And now we're going to have the next steps. And if you think about it, it's really complete coverage of transportation. And they will develop it. It's on the motorway right now, but we'll be in town the next week. So we really have to keep the authorities away from huge potential. That's the one thing. And the second thing is, think of the private business. I mean, if the prosecution phones AOL right now and says, could you please send me some information about one of your clients who used your internet service at a specific time, they should say, no, I'm sorry, because of EU regulation, I'm not allowed to keep these data only for billing purpose, and this is no billing purpose, I've deleted it. No, but what they do is, oh yeah, fine, we're going to send you the information. So the next question should, why on earth do you store them? And that's two things I worry about. The one thing is they store them. That's during this discussion about data retention, they said, oh, we don't want data retention. We don't want to be forced. We do it, but we don't want to be forced because it's so expensive. On the other hand side, they're doing it all the time. So this is why we just had a discussion with one of your colleagues, and I said they have bad arguments because they're already doing it. The big ones already store information. Not on that large scale that they're going to do it in the next years, but they already do it. That's the one thing. And the second thing is, why do they do it? They never do something without force. And they do it because they are very useful, this information. So I don't want private business to have this information because they're going to sell them. And they're going to bring together this information. And I mean, if you see the American country, if you see the American companies that are running these business, gathering cards from your credit card information and your bank account information and whatever you bought with your payback card or whatever, they are collecting this information, bringing them together and selling your profile. And I really don't want to know who is behind them. That's really the thing that threatens me. And if I hear there is Scientology who is really involved in that, and then then you're so surprised. These people are so surprised and say, "Oh, I didn't know." But we really have to care about our privacy, and therefore data protection. The fight against data protection is something we should all care about. And the last threat is I was just involved in a case where some of these copyright holders try to force access providers to stop access to certain pages. They said, well, all these pages, the file sharing system, they have their valuable information about file sharing system and where you find the best files. Please do me a favor, stop any access, or not do me a favor. I'm going to force you to stop access to these pages. And the access provider said, no, we won't do this, and we're not storing this information. We cannot, we are not responsible, and all these things. And what I'm figuring out right now is that the music industry is really waiting for these data. They are just waiting and say, we want this information. And that really frightens me, because it's no terrorist. I mean, somebody who's downloading a file from the internet, which is, I just want to mention it here, there's a discussion going on, but which is not a crime if you're doing it for your private use. There are some experts and some adverts, some in the movie especially, who are telling us that we are criminals if we're downloading files from the internet. That's stupid. Okay, so if somebody's downloading a few files from the internet, that should be no criminal sanction on that. That would be not useful. I mean, you would go home and feel criminal, and that cannot be the point. So therefore, I think that the copyright, these copyright holders should be kept away from sensitive information. And this threatens me as well when we talk about data retention. Okay, so what I did when I was discussing this data retention thing with friends, we developed, well, is that really sufficient? Does it help? Does data retention really help? And I mean, I was not really thinking about you who can circumvent about technical measures, but imagine an open wireless LAN. I mean, there is a neighbor. I was planning to get an internet access, and I looked on my computer, and then I saw there were a number of open wireless LAN available in the neighborhood. So what if I'm using them? I mean, the trace goes back to that guy, and he doesn't even know I used it. So you will not catch any terrorist who's using open wireless LAN networks. And I mean, if you drive through a German town, a bigger city, you find hundreds of them, thousands of them. I mean, people do not want to get into I think plug and play. That's the right word. They do not want to install anything. They want to just set it up, and that's it. Plug it in and use it. And therefore, open wireless LAN is a big topic. And as long as there is open wireless LAN, data retention does not really make sense. Next one, public internet cafes. I've just been to Serbia to explain them something about the Cybercrime Convention, and I went to a public internet cafe, and it was crowded with people who were downloading movies from the internet, exchanging files, and no registration. I simply went there. It was about 20 cents for an hour, and it was wonderful. And as long as there are open wireless internet cafes, we do not have to talk about data retention, because I went in and I left, and that was it. My trace, that was all I could trace back. Excuse me, yes, please. You need a microphone. If you, please feel free to ask any question right now. You don't have to wait until the end. This should be a discussion, because my presentation ends in 7 slices, so there is just very little I have to say. I would like to hear much more from you, but there is the microphone. It's here.
Brenno de Winter said in his lecture that in Italy people already have to show their passport in internet cafes.
Yeah, that's brand new, and it's the same in China. I'm teaching in China as well, and it's the same situation we do have there. They are trying to control. They're very successful with regard to control at the access providers, but as well as internet cafes. So to trace back the route, they need the identification, and therefore they're forcing this. And it's the same in Italy. They're doing it, but right